Hello, this is Nick with IndieGameBundles.com, your #1 spot for information about all indie bundles. In this episode of 10 Indie Minutes, we'll be looking at Sugarcube Bittersweet Factory. This is by a development studio called Turtle Cream, and it actually has won the Independent Games Festival of China. So if you haven't heard of this one by now, I mean, it's not widely known, but it's definitely time that you get on board and figure it out. It's a very clever puzzle platformer. Emphasis on the puzzle, but you'll see what I'm talking about in a second. Just a quick little introduction, and then we'll get into the game. So there's our hero, the Sugarcube. If you couldn't tell by that little animation, what it was telling you is basically you're about to be taken and cooked into some sort of a delicious sugary confection. And since you're sort of aware of what's going on around you, you decide you do not want that, and decide to jump to safety through a bunch of different, I think it's 90 zany levels, getting more and more difficult as you progress. Now, the mechanic to this game is that everywhere you go, you'll see this little red border around your character. That is the area that when you pass through those blocks, you'll actually flip over the tile that the background contains, and that'll actually have either nothing or a different block on it. So you have to be very careful about how you walk, and you do also have a move that lets you not flip tiles. So you have to sparingly use that as well. And now you can see those little lights blinking on and off. Those are actually giving you ability to see into the background. It's sort of like a transparency. So if you were to flip over those tiles on that 3x3 grid, you can actually see that the top three contain platforms you can step on. But in most of the cases, you don't have that luxury of being able to see what's on the other side. And you have to do some sort of three-dimensional exploration in your two-dimensional plane. It's a very novel idea. I haven't seen too many else, or anyone else, try something like that. This is a case where you have to not use the flipping mechanic and you have to use your special ability. Otherwise, all of those top platforms would disappear and you wouldn't be able to cross the gap to the finish. You'll see even just in this very first chapter, the convention gets very hard. I was actually stumped for one of the levels for quite a while. I had to go back and finish it off camera and then figure out how to do it again. So even if I beat it once, I still wasn't able to beat it consistently. This one's not too bad. You actually have this kind of cool mechanic where you can see the light coming through where the tiles would not be in the alternate realm. And if you construct a little bridge for that vanilla cookie shaped character there, he's going to cross the gap and then you can get around to the other side. And everything's cool. So in this case you have to use these springboards to platform your way across, while leaving enough platforms above you that you'll be able to cross the gap to the finish. So it's a combination of good platforming, clever puzzles, and sort of like exploration in a different way than I've seen. Not to mention there's also bosses. And then the game throws you a wild card like this, where you will symmetrically flip all the tiles as you go. This was the level, in fact, that I couldn't figure out how to beat. Because if you step in the wrong place too many times, you're going to end up causing the platform above you to block your ability to jump to the next one to the right. I actually did a little bit of editing here because I actually messed around with it for a while. But the trick, I guess, was to make sure that those top three aren't all activated when you jump from them, otherwise you're not going to be able to make the jump properly. And I think I also got partially just a bit lucky here. See, right here I wouldn't be able to make this jump back normally if there was another tile below that. And then I made a little step, and this I wasn't sure I could make this jump. But thankfully there's no ceiling to the stage. You can actually just jump beyond the gap. And here's another challenge. There's these sugar jewels that show up occasionally, and you have to pick those all up to get to the true ending of the game, so there's multiple endings as well. And everywhere you go, it flips over a tile that you can't get back through. So you have to only go in one direction or you trap yourself constantly. So the challenge here is, how are you going to get to that sugar cube or sugar crystal and come back down without activating a space where you can't do it like I just did there. Now I can go over the top, but, you know, I wasn't thinking. And you're trapped by the left and right horizontal walls. So in this case, it looks like the trick was to build yourself up a platform as high as you could, and then use the fact that there's no space that flips at the top to jump down, and there you go. This is kind of a cool little level. These wafer-shaped cracker platforms, or whatever you want to call them, they'll flip over in such a way that you have to make sure that the ones under you sometimes are turned on and the ones over you are turned off. So it's kind of a crafty idea. I also really like the art in the background is very creative. I think a lot of it is very well done. Some of it's quite funny, actually, if you look at it. Here's another little puzzle as to how to get this and come back, because all of these tiles on the ground are going to disappear. So I have to mess around a little bit at the beginning here to get acclimated. Of course, you can reset the levels by pressing R, which is always handy for when you get stuck against a wall. And now I gotta find my way back somehow, so I think I did it in sort of a fudged way. I don't know if there's a better way than how I did it. But you'll see I did a sort of like a jump, and then grab, and jump and grab over and over until I got to the end. I feel like there's probably a better way than that, but I guess that's a testament to the ingenuity of the design, that there are multiple ways probably to get through this. Probably, and as you progress more, it's going to be that there are more ways. Not sure why I needed to do that. I don't think any of the tiles are in any danger of flipping me there. In this level, there's a whole second level hiding underneath the surface, which is kind of cool. Should be noted also, the music's very nice. In the levels, it doesn't tend to stand out a ton, but in like the title screens and stuff, I thought that was very nice. But I think it's good. It doesn't take the forefront, so you're not thinking about the music more than thinking about the platforming. But when you do pay attention to it, it's there and it's present and it's good. So here's another situation where the dim glowing lights are going to actually show that there are platforms to activate, and then I can make a second pass through it and hit those platforms so I can make it to the exit. We're almost to the boss. Another wafer level. I like this one quite a bit too. It's something about forming the path that you need to use to get up to the next level is kind of cool. Especially since you're not in huge danger of falling to your death, so it's not very frustrating either. It can be a little annoying though that most of the time, if you're not dealing with the ability that lets you not flip tiles, you tend to flip them way too much. Like more than you intend to. But that's okay, since they did give you that ability to not flip them. And here's one where you get to figure out a path through a bunch of spikes. Again, I think there was another way to do that perhaps, but the way I did it I think works out pretty nicely. And I was just hoping that that was the right way to go, and it turns out it was. So here's our first boss. Now I hadn't fought a boss before this, so I wasn't exactly sure how to deal with him. I figured, as with most bosses that are on bridges, you need to destroy the bridge, and it also says that on that little fluffy ice cream cone at the beginning. But as far as how do you beat the level, well, you just have to get to the exit like all the other ones. You just have to not get killed by that boss. So it's a specific situation with a special baddie, and in this case not particularly hard to solve, but this is only the first boss out of a bunch of chapters. And that'll be Chapter 1, so that's a look at Sugarcube Bittersweet Factory. And I hope you enjoyed it. I think this is a very cool game, definitely worth a look. And I hear it's actually coming to Steam pretty soon, so something to look out for. So thanks very much for watching another episode of 10 Indie Minutes.